Look at me, Damien!
It's all for you!
The Omen is an accurate replica of the 1976 picture, which is comforting because it focuses on individuals and circumstances rather than going overboard with images. What will a present-day remake of the classic look like in this day and age of special effects? The plot outline of this film is the same as the older version, but still the way the film is made makes it a visual treat. As the film starts, astrotheologians in Vatican City are worrying about the significance of comets in the sky and Earth's upheavals as an American diplomat and his wife give birth to a newborn boy in a Rome hospital.
Sweetie, it's just a church, that's all.
She's sick.
As cold as ice. What's the matter? Those other kids didn't want to play with you?
They are informed that the kid has died at birth, and an evil doctor urges the husband to swap a baby born the same day to an unmarried woman. He accepts and keeps it a secret from his wife, and together they raise Damien, who if made of paper, rags, and dogtails would be a step up. The parents are Robert and Catherine Thorne, played by Liev Schreiber and Julia Stiles. After his boss's terrible death, Robert is given the opportunity to become the American ambassador to Great Britain. Because he is the president's godson, it is evident that Damien's future is predetermined. He might become president and expedite Armageddon. The most disturbing sequence in the 1976 film is when his nanny dies. After Robert is selected as the new ambassador, he moves with his family to London, where they're put up at a huge fancy house. 2 years later, when Catherine takes Damien to the park, she is seen to get distracted when her phone rings. Nobody answers when she picks up the call, and after hanging up the call, she's devastated to see Damien has disappeared. Luckily, she soon finds him hiding behind a tree and scolds him for scaring her. Fast forward a few days. At a party for Damien's 5th birthday, journalist Keith is there to cover the event. The nanny is seen helping around when she suddenly notices a black dog sitting nearby, and the scene shows something changing inside her. She immediately climbs to the roof of the house and announces she's doing this for Damien before jumping with a rope around her neck. Everyone starts panicking, and Keith takes pictures of the incident while Robert rushes to pick up Damien, wanting to protect him from the blood-curdling sight. However, Damien doesn't look much bothered and waves at the dog. The incident soon reaches the news, and reporters start following Robert around, but he refuses to comment on the matter.
They're afraid.
In this adaptation, when the new nanny appears, the crowd chuckles at her initially. She is Mrs. Baylock, portrayed by Mia Farrow, who also had a kid who was not meant to be a model child. Let's get back to the story later. Now, what idea does this film portray? Consider instead the genre of theological sensationalism. We've already noted that when it comes to dealing with demons and the like, Roman Catholics have the market in their grip. Preachers of other faiths can go on and on about satanic cults. But when it comes to knowing the ground rules and reading ominous signs, what you want at the bedside is a priest who knows his way around an exorcism. The Omen begins in the Vatican Observatory, where the heavens are waiting to fulfill prophecy by placing a star above Rome on the night of Damien's birth, just as there was a star above Bethlehem when Jesus was born. That the Antichrist gets a star all to himself.
Hello, Damien. I'm here to protect you.
Makes you wonder who's running the heavens, but never mind. The Pope is told about it, and his aides add up the signs the Jews have returned to the land of Zion. There are earth and sea tremors, and in a parallel that we believe requires further investigation, the common market is an awful omen. The film begins with a montage of pre-apocalyptic events such as the World Trade Center collapse, Hurricane Katrina, and the 2004 tsunami. Maybe the quickness with which the Omen combines real-life disaster into a horror picture is a clue that the end is nigh.
Thing about Damien.
I was at the hospital the night your son was born. What do you know about my son?
Father Brennan, played by Peter Postlethwaite, is the Catholic's point man. He screams into Robert's office and warns him that the child must die. Which child? Your kid, Mr. Thorne. The son of the devil, Father Brennan, must have neglected the seminary's seminars on pastoral counseling procedures. He does not make an outstanding presence, appearing less like a messenger of truth and more like someone who is having trouble with the sacred wine. Other occurrences conspire to persuade Robert that Damien is a strange child, something his wife sensed from the start, especially after the youngster uses his scooter to push her over a balcony and laughs as she falls to the marble floor far below her. She was pregnant when she fell and lost the baby after the fall. There's also the question of the paparazzo, played by David Thewlis, whose shots reveal so many secret images that we might recreate the 1966 hit Blow Up with them. Keith looked in a mirror and took a picture that showed him with a white streak around the picture, as the previous victims had in their photographs too. So he becomes afraid he may die soon. Robert agrees to research Damien's true origin and goes to Rome with Keith to talk to the hospital staff that was working on the day of Damien's birth. They're shocked to discover the hospital burned down after Robert's family left, but they're able to track down a nun who survived the fire and now has visible burns. The nun gives them enough information to find Spoleto.
He bears a birthmark. A sequence of sixes. From the eternal sea he rises.
On their way to another church, Robert and the photographer found a secluded monastery accessible only by a rowboat. Before that, the duo stops for lunch, and Keith shares the Bible passage that discusses the birth of the Antichrist. Keith thinks it's a metaphor for politics and that the devil's offspring wants the power of humankind, so Robert was chosen on purpose because of his position. Damien probably even killed the previous ambassador. Eventually, they cross the lake and reach a church in the countryside to meet with Spoleto, whose face is deformed from the fire.
He rises, creating armies on either shore, turning man against his brother, till man exists no more.
They encounter an elderly priest who is so near to death that the Grim Reaper would be an upgrade. He can't talk or walk. But when Robert asks about Damien's real mother, he writes the name of an old cemetery north of Rome. Then Robert and Keith go to the cemetery and find the gate locked, so they have to sneak inside by climbing a wall. They looked around the graves and found two for a mother and child with the right date, so they opened the mother's first. As Brennan predicted, they find the skeleton of a jackal. Next, they open the kid's grave, and Robert is devastated to see the baby's skull has a hole, meaning his child was killed on purpose to set everything up. Filmmaker John Moore of Behind Enemy Lines fame does all of this with mood and flair. He understands that the plot is engaging enough without any advanced CGI elements in the graphics. We believe Liev Schreiber is a fine option for Ambassador Thorne because he is more prepared to dread the worst in act than Gregory Peck, who portrayed the position in 1976. Mia Farrow's creepiest moments come when she's wonderfully comforting.
Your son, the son of the devil.
Now, let's go to the shortcomings of the film. Some of the performances in the film are quite subpar. Julia Stiles seems unconvincing in her portrayal, which is largely due to a lack of screen time. Her growing paranoia is mostly expressed through dream sequences, which create leaps but do not successfully advance the character or storyline. One of the unusual aspects of this remake is that it does very little new, aside from using recent disasters like the 9/11's terrorist attack and Hurricane Katrina to place the film and biblical prophecies in contemporary times. But the story is almost scene for scene like the first Omen, and some of the scenes are almost line for line and shot for shot like the original film. This invites the question, why reproduce the film precisely as it was? Remakes are usually expected to reinvent the tale or present the material freshly, like Batman or Dune, which this Omen does not accomplish. But sticking to a winning formula means that the director wanted no surprises in the outcome of the film, with just improving the visual aspects of the film. Julia Stiles plays a challenging role in the film that is hard to relate to. How can a mother want her kid dead, even if he is the Antichrist? What do you think? Drop down your opinions in the comments section below. If you like this video, make sure to check out our other videos. Feel free to subscribe for more intriguing content. Please let us know if you found the video useful, and we'll see you in the next one.